Then, in 1957, during the dark of the night, someone broke into the Catholic Church and stole all the gold and silver crosses and everything else of value. The next morning, the priest and others said, "Who did this? Who hates the church? Who hates God? It must be the Methodist." So the mob went looking for the only Methodist in Ancoraimes, Feliciano's family. The priest and hundreds of others carried whips and yelling curses surged toward their house. And Feliciano hid his wife and children and went outside to proclaim his innocence. But the Criollo Mestizo crowd would have none of it. They ransacked Feliciano's house looking for the stolen religious icons and statues, but none were found. Nor was there any money from the sale of those items. He must have already sold them and hid the money. Then they dragged Feliciano off to jail. However, a few people knew that Feliciano had some people that cared about him in the outlying villages, so they refrained from beating or torturing Feliciano. They put him in jail, and Feliciano's family had no idea if there would be a trial, whether it be fair or not, and whether it would lead to jail or execution. What the drunken mob of Ancoraimes hadn't counted on was how well known and how well loved Feliciano was in the neighboring indigenous villages. Those villagers knew that Feliciano would never do something like that. He was not a thief. Besides, this was after the 1952 Land Reform Act. Anger built higher and higher among the campesinos in the villages around Ancoraimes. First one community, then another, and then 40 or more communities marched on Ancoraimes. They even gathered up peones still living under a patron who were now ready to evict the patrons as directed by Bolivian law. Within 3 or 4 days, the town was completely encircled, and all the roads in and out of Ancoraimes were cut off by the blockades, by over 20,000 indigenous persons demanding the release of this one quiet, peaceful, beloved man, Feliciano. It must have been a fearful sight for the Criollo and the Mestizo population in Ancoraimes. It was as if an Aymara army had surrounded the town. But for the indigenous, it was a party, with loud music all night and lots of drinking, along with the occasional gunshot in the air. The crowd whipped itself into a frenzy. Now it wasn't just about Feliciano. Who really stole the artifacts from the church? We must find who stole them. And these are the home of our oppressors. These are the ones who have held us down since the days of Atahualpa for 400 years. It was time for revenge. After surrounding the town for 3 days, suddenly, as if by command, the crowd surged into Ancoraimes.